The red lights flashed across the control room of Kepler Station. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the main screen, watching the emergency signals pour in from every direction. His coffee cup sat cold and forgotten on the console as he read the messages that made his blood run cold. "Sir, we have a Priority 1 distress call from the Vorthen military base," said Lieutenant Amy Carter. Her voice was steady, but Jake could see the worry in her eyes. Amy had worked with alien species for 5 years, and nothing ever seemed to shake her. If she was worried, then things were very bad. Jake pressed the communication button. "This is Commander Morrison of Kepler Station. What is your emergency?" The voice that came through the speakers was rough and deep, like gravel being crushed. The Vorthen commander sounded terrified. "Commander Morrison, we need immediate help. Our Warbeast has broken free. It has destroyed half our base and is moving toward your sector." Jake felt his stomach drop. Everyone in this part of space knew about the Vorthen Warbeasts. They were massive creatures, 30 feet tall and covered in armor that could stop any weapon the humans had. The Vorthens had made these creatures in their labs hundreds of years ago. They used machines in their heads to control them like puppets in battle. "How did it break free?" Jake asked. "I thought your control systems were perfect." "We do not know," the Vorthon replied. "Something went wrong with the neural implants. The creature is in constant pain and rage. It attacks everything it sees. Our weapons cannot stop it. We are evacuating now, but there are thousands of human colonists in its path." Amy pulled up the tactical display on the main screen. A red dot moved slowly but steadily toward their position. Around it, smaller dots representing Vorthen ships were fleeing in all directions. The creature was still 6 hours away, but at its current speed, it would reach the civilian areas by morning. "What about your other war beasts?" Jake asked. "Can you use them to stop this one?" "Negative. This creature was our strongest. The others are not powerful enough to defeat it. Commander Morrison, you must evacuate your people now. We cannot guarantee their safety." The transmission ended with a burst of static. Jake stared at the screen, watching the red dot move closer to his home. Kepler Station housed over 50,000 people. They had mining families, research teams, and children who had never seen anywhere but this small corner of space. "Amy, how long would it take to evacuate everyone?" Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. "At least 12 hours, sir, maybe more if people panic. We don't have enough ships for everyone at once." Amy's fingers danced over her console, pulling up evacuation plans they had hoped never to use. Jake rubbed his forehead. His daughter Lucy was somewhere in the station, probably in the school section learning about alien languages. She was 8 years old and had never known real danger. None of the children had. "Sir, I have Captain Roy Bennett on the line," said Sergeant Pete Davis from the communication station. "He's commanding the human defense fleet in this sector." "Put him through," Jake said. Captain Bennett's voice filled the room. "Morrison, I just heard about your situation. I'm bringing everything I have, but it won't be much against a warbeast. My ships are fast, but their weapons are designed for pirates and smugglers, not alien superweapons." "How long until you reach us?" Jake asked. 4 hours if I push the engines hard. But Morrison, you need to understand something. I've seen what these creatures can do. During the war with the Kellans, one warbeast destroyed an entire battle group, 20 ships gone in less than an hour. Jake closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, Amy was looking at him with a question in her eyes. She was waiting for orders, but what orders could he give? They were trapped between an unstoppable monster and empty space. "Start the evacuation," Jake said finally. "Priority goes to children and elderly. Get them on the fastest ships we have." "Yes, sir," Amy replied. She began typing commands into her console, sending alerts throughout the station. Jake walked to the observation window that looked out into space. In the distance, he could see the lights of other ships and stations, all of them too far away to help. Humanity had spread across the stars, but they were still small and weak compared to the older alien races. The door to the control room opened, and Dr. Nina Walsh walked in. She was the station's specialist in alien behavior, a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had studied dozens of species and written books about how different minds worked. I heard about the Warbeast, she said. I've been reading everything we have about them. Please tell me you found something useful, Jake said. Nina shook her head. Not much. The Vorthons keep their bioweapon technology very secret. But I did find some interesting information about how they control these creatures. She activated a holographic display, showing a diagram of a brain with small machines attached to it. The neural implants work by sending pain signals when the creature disobeys commands. It's not really control, it's torture. The creatures follow orders because the alternative is agony. That's horrible, Amy said softly. Yes, but it explains why this one went mad when the system malfunctioned, Nina continued. If the implants are sending constant pain signals, the creature would be in unbearable suffering. It would attack anything nearby just to try to make the pain stop. Jake studied the diagram. Is there any way to turn off the implants? Not that we know of. The technology is far beyond what humans understand. The Vorthons spent centuries developing it. The alarm system began to sound throughout the station. Jake's voice echoed through every corridor and room as he made the announcement everyone had been dreading. Attention all residents of Kepler Station. This is Commander Morrison. We are beginning an immediate evacuation due to an approaching threat. Please report to your assigned evacuation points in an orderly fashion. Priority will be given to families with children and elderly residents. This is not a drill. Within minutes, the corridors filled with people carrying bags and leading confused children. Jake watched them through the security cameras, his heart breaking at the fear in their faces. These people had trusted him to keep them safe, and now he was sending them away from the only home many of them had ever known. Daddy? A small voice said behind him. Jake turned to see his daughter Lucy standing in the doorway. She had escaped from her teacher and made her way to the control room, as she often did when she was curious about something. Lucy was small, for her age, with brown hair and bright green eyes that seemed to see everything. Lucy, you should be with your class getting ready to leave, Jake said, kneeling down to hug her. Why is everyone scared? She asked. Mrs. Johnson said we have to leave because of a big monster, but monsters aren't real. Jake looked into his daughter's innocent eyes. She had grown up on the station, playing with the children of a dozen different species. To her, the universe was full of friends, not enemies. Sometimes there are creatures that are hurt and angry, Jake said carefully. This one is very big and very angry, so we need to go somewhere safe until it feels better. Lucy tilted her head, the way she always did when she was thinking hard about something. If it's hurt, why don't we help it feel better instead of running away? Before Jake could answer, the lights flickered and an explosion echoed through the station. On the main screen, the red dot had moved much closer than expected. The Warbeast had arrived early, and it was already tearing through the outer hull. The station shook as another piece of metal tore away from the outer hull. Jake Morrison held onto his daughter Lucy as the lights flickered, and emergency sirens wailed throughout Kepler Station. Through the main view screen, he could see the massive shape of the Warbeast clinging to the station's outer ring like a giant spider made of nightmares. All ships, this is Captain Roy Bennett of the Nighthawk, came a voice over the communications system. We are engaging the target now. Jake watched as 3 human warships approached the station, their weapons firing bright beams of energy at the creature. The beams hit the Warbeast's armored hide and bounced off like raindrops on a window. The creature barely seemed to notice. The attack. It's not working, Amy Carter said from her console. Her voice was tight with fear as she watched the tactical display. Our weapons are doing nothing to it. The Warbeast turned its massive head toward the attacking ships. Even through the thick station walls, they could hear its roar, a sound like thunder mixed with the screams of 100 dying animals. The creature released one clawed hand from the station and swiped at the nearest ship. Captain Bennett's voice crackled over the radio. Nighthawk taking evasive action. That thing is faster than it looks. Jake could see the human ship spinning away from the Warbeast claws, barely avoiding being torn apart. The other 2 ships continued firing, but their weapons might as well have been flashlights for all the good they were doing. Daddy, it sounds hurt, Lucy said quietly. She was pressed against the observation window, looking out at the creature with curious eyes instead of fear. Lucy, get away from the window, Jake said, trying to pull her back. But his daughter was stubborn when she was interested in something. "Look at its eyes," she said, pointing at the creature's face. "They're all red and sad, like when Mr. Peterson's dog got sick." Jake looked where she was pointing. The Warbeast's eyes were indeed glowing red, but he had assumed that was normal for the species. Now that Lucy mentioned it, there was something wrong about the way the light pulsed and flickered. Dr. Nina Walsh had been studying her tablet, reading everything she could find about warbeasts. She looked up suddenly, her face pale. "Jake, I think your daughter might be right. Look at this movement pattern." She projected a map onto the main screen showing the creature's path through the Vorthen base and toward their station. Instead of random destruction, there was a clear pattern to where the warbeast had attacked. "It's not just destroying everything," Nina continued. "It's targeting specific areas, medical facilities, command centers, anywhere that might have the technology to help it." "Help it do what?" Jake asked. "Remove the neural implants. Look at this footage from the Vorthen base." Nina played a recording that showed the warbeast using its claws to dig at the back of its own head, trying to reach something embedded deep in its skull. The creature was clumsy and desperate, unable to reach the source of its pain. "The implants are malfunctioning," Nina said. "They're sending constant pain signals instead of control commands. The creature is trying to get them out, but it can't reach them. It's been suffering for hours, maybe days." Another explosion shook the station. Through the window they could see the warbeast tearing through the outer hull, its movements becoming more frantic. Pieces of metal and debris floated away into space. "All civilian ships have cleared the docking area," reported Sergeant Pete Davis. "But we still have 3,000 people in the intersections. The evacuation ships can't get close while that thing is attached to us." Jake made a decision that went against every rule in the military handbook. "All ships, this is Commander Morrison. Cease fire immediately." "Sir?" Captain Bennett's voice sounded confused. "Did you say ceasefire?" "That's correct." "Stop shooting. At it. You're not hurting it and you might be making it more angry." There was a moment of silence, then the weapons fire stopped. The warbeast seemed to notice the change. Its head turned toward the bridge section of the station, and for a terrifying moment, Jake thought it was looking directly at him through the window. "It's moving toward us," Amy said, her voice barely above a whisper. The creature began climbing along the station's hull, its massive claws finding purchase on the metal framework. Each step made the entire structure groan and shake. Emergency. Lights flickered as power systems were damaged. "Lucy, we need to go to the emergency shelter now," Jake said, reaching for his daughter's hand. But Lucy was no longer beside him. While the adults had been watching the screens and talking about weapons and tactics, the 8-year-old had quietly slipped out of the control room. "Where's Lucy?" Jake spun around, panic rising in his chest. Amy checked the internal sensors. "Sir, she's in Section 7, Corridor 12. That's right in the path of the creature." Jake ran for the door, but Amy grabbed his arm. "Sir, you can't go out there. If that thing breaks through the hull, the whole section could lose atmosphere." "That's my daughter," Jake said, pulling free from her grip. He ran through the corridors of the station, following the path Lucy had taken. Emergency doors had sealed automatically as the creature damaged different sections, but Jake had override codes that opened them again. Behind each door he could hear the groaning of metal and the distant sound of the warbeast moving through the station's outer areas. Meanwhile, Lucy Morrison was making her way through a damaged corridor in Section 7. The lights were flickering, and some of the wall panels had fallen down, but she was small enough to crawl through spaces that would have stopped an adult. She wasn't trying to run away from the creature. She was trying to find it. Lucy had grown up on Kepler Station playing with the pets and working animals that different species brought with them. She had a natural way with creatures that were scared or hurt. Her father didn't know it, but she had once calmed down a Rigelian transport beast that had gone crazy during a cargo transfer. The alien workers had been amazed when the huge animal stopped thrashing and let Lucy pet its nose. The sound of tearing metal was getting closer. Lucy could hear the creature's heavy breathing, like wind blowing through a cave. She wasn't scared. In her 8-year-old mind, this was just another animal that needed help. She found the Warbeast in what had been the station's main cargo bay. The creature had torn through the outer wall and was now inside the station, its massive form barely fitting in the space. Crates and equipment were scattered everywhere, crushed under its weight. Up close, the Warbeast was even more impressive than Lucy had imagined. Its hide was dark gray with patches of natural armor that gleamed like metal. But what struck her most were its eyes. They were definitely wrong, glowing with a pulsing red light that seemed to come from deep inside its head. The creature was using its claws to dig at the back of its skull again, making frustrated growling sounds. Lucy could see small drops of blue blood where it had scratched itself, but it couldn't reach whatever was causing its pain. "Hey there, big guy," Lucy said softly, the same way she talked to frightened pets. The Warbeast froze. Its massive head turned toward her, and for a moment Lucy thought she might have made a mistake. The creature was huge, with teeth as long as her arm and claws that could cut through starship hull. But instead of attacking, the Warbeast just stared at her. Its glowing red eyes seemed to focus on her small form, and gradually, the frantic movement stopped. For the first time since breaking free from the Vorthon base, the creature was completely still. "You're hurt, aren't you?" Lucy said, taking a careful step closer. "Something's making your head hurt real bad." The Warbeast made a low sound, not quite a growl but not quite a whimper either. It was the sound of something in terrible pain that had been suffering alone for too long. Lucy had no way of knowing that her father was frantically searching for her, or that Captain Bennett's ships were holding their position just outside the station, waiting for orders. She didn't know that Dr. Walsh was studying every second of the security footage, trying to understand why the most dangerous creature in known space had suddenly gone quiet. All Lucy knew was that there was a hurt animal in front of her, and hurt animals needed someone to be kind to them. "It's okay," she said, sitting down on a piece of broken cargo container. "You don't have to be scared anymore. I'm here to help." Jake Morrison ran through the damaged corridors of Kepler Station, his heart pounding as he searched for his daughter. Emergency lights flickered overhead, and he could hear the groaning of stressed metal all around him. The station's computer kept announcing hull breaches and system failures, but Jake ignored everything except finding Lucy. "Lucy," he called out, his voice echoing through the empty hallways. "Lucy, where are you?" Back in the control room, Amy Carter was watching something incredible on the security screens. The Warbeast had stopped moving completely. For the first time since breaking free from the Vorthon base, the massive creature was perfectly still. "Dr. Walsh, you need to see this," Amy said, her voice filled with wonder. Nina Walsh hurried over to look at the screen. The security camera in Cargo Bay 7 was still working, and it showed the Warbeast sitting in the middle of the destroyed room. But more importantly, it showed 8-year-old Lucy Morrison sitting on a broken crate just a few feet away from the creature. "Oh my God," Nina whispered. "How is she still alive?" The Warbeast's glowing red eyes were fixed on Lucy, but there was no anger in its posture. The creature looked more confused than anything else, as if it couldn't understand what it was seeing. "Patch me through to Commander Morrison," Nina said. "He needs to know his daughter is safe, but he also needs to stay away. If he comes charging in there, it might startle the creature." Amy opened a communication channel. "Commander Morrison, this is base control. We have Lucy on the security cameras. She's in Cargo Bay 7 and she appears to be unharmed." Jake's voice came back immediately. "Is that thing near her? I'm almost there." "Sir, you need to stop and listen to me," Nina said, taking over the communication. "Your daughter has somehow calmed the Warbeast. If you go in there making noise and sudden movements, you could trigger another violent episode. The creature is responding to her presence in a way we've never seen before." Jake's footsteps stopped echoing through the corridor. "What do you mean responding to her?" "I mean it's not trying to hurt her. In fact, it seems to be listening to her. We're studying the footage now, but something about your daughter's behavior is affecting the creature's neural patterns." In the cargo bay, Lucy was still talking to the Warbeast in her soft, gentle voice. She had noticed that certain sounds made the creature flinch, while others seemed to calm it down. When she spoke quietly, the red glow in its eyes became less intense. "I Bet those things in your head hurt a lot, she said, pointing to where she could see small scars on the creature's skull. My friend Tommy had something stuck in his ear once and it made him cry. But the doctor took it out and he felt much better. The Warbeast made another low sound, almost like a sigh. It was the sound of someone who had been in pain for so long that they had forgotten what it felt like to be without it. Lucy noticed that the creature kept trying to reach the back of its head with its claws, but its arms were too thick, and the angle was wrong. She had seen her cat do the same thing when it had an itch it couldn't scratch. "You can't reach it, can you?" she said. "That must be really frustrating." Captain Roy Bennett's voice came over the station's communication system. "Control, this is Nighthawk. We're seeing some kind of energy readings from the creature. It's different from before." Dr. Walsh was frantically studying her instruments. The neural activity readings from the Warbeast were changing in ways that shouldn't have been possible. The chaotic, pain-driven patterns were slowly becoming more organized. "Amy, pull up everything we have on human-animal bonding," Nina said. "There might be something in our psychological databases that explains this." Amy's fingers flew over her console. "Doctor, I'm finding studies about how certain human voices can calm aggressive animals. Something about the tone and rhythm that bypasses fight-or-flight responses." "But this isn't just any animal," Nina replied. "This is a bioengineered weapon designed to be uncontrollable by anyone except its fourth and handlers. The fact that a human child can affect it at all should be impossible." In the cargo bay, Lucy had stood up from her crate and was slowly walking closer to the Warbeast. The creature watched her approach, but didn't move. Its breathing had become slower and more regular. "I'm going to try something," Lucy said, even though she knew the creature probably couldn't understand her words. "When my dad gets upset, sometimes a hug makes him feel better." She reached out her small hand toward the Warbeast's massive head. The creature could have snapped her up in one bite, could have crushed her with a single movement of its claws. Instead, it slowly lowered its head until Lucy's hand was resting on its snout. The effect was immediate. The red glow in the creature's eyes dimmed to a soft pink, and its entire body seemed to relax. For the first time in its tortured existence, the Warbeast was experiencing something other than pain and anger. "There you go," Lucy said softly. "That's better, isn't it?" The security cameras captured every moment, and everyone watching in the control room held their breath. Nina Walsh felt tears running down her face as she witnessed something that would change everything they thought they knew about bioweapons and alien psychology. "My God," she whispered. "She's not just calming it down, she's healing it." Jake Morrison had reached the entrance to Cargo Bay 7. Through the damaged doorway, he could see his daughter standing next to the most dangerous creature in known space, petting it like it was a giant dog. Every instinct told him to rush in and grab Lucy to get her as far away from the Warbeast as possible. But he could also see that the creature was calm in a way that seemed impossible. Its whole body language had changed from aggressive to almost peaceful. "Lucy," he called softly. "Can you hear me?" Lucy turned toward her father's voice, but she didn't take her hand away from the Warbeast. "Hi, Daddy. Look, I made a new friend. He's not scary at all. He's just hurt and sad." The Warbeast's head turned toward Jake, and for a terrifying moment, he thought the creature might attack. But instead it just looked at him with those strange glowing eyes, as if it was trying to understand what Jake was to Lucy. "That's wonderful. Sweetheart," Jake said, keeping his voice as calm as possible. "Can you tell me about your new friend?" "He has machines in his head that hurt him all the time," Lucy explained. "That's why he was breaking things. He wasn't being mean, he was just trying to make the hurt stop. But he can't reach the machines to take them out." Dr. Walsh's voice came through Jake's communicator. "Commander, she's absolutely right. The neural implants are malfunctioning and causing constant pain. But here's the incredible part. The creature's brain activity is normalizing while she's in contact with it. Somehow her presence is overriding the pain signals." Jake looked at his daughter, this small 8-year-old girl who had somehow succeeded, where advanced alien technology and human weapons had failed. She had seen past the monster to find the suffering being underneath. "Lucy, I need you to stay very calm and keep talking to your friend," Jake said. "Dr. Walsh thinks she might be able to help remove those machines from his head, but it's going to take some time." Lucy nodded seriously. She understood that this was important, even if she didn't understand all the details. "Did you hear that?" she said to the Warbeast, looking into its dimly glowing eyes. "We're going to help you feel better, but you have to be very still and very patient, okay?" The creature made a soft, rumbling sound that was almost like a purr. Lucy giggled. "I think that means yes," she said. Dr. Kate Sullivan arrived at Kepler Station 3 hours after the Warbeast had stopped its rampage. She was the best medical engineer in human space, and she brought with her a team of specialists and equipment that filled 2 cargo ships. When Commander Morrison had called for help, she had dropped everything and come as fast as her ship could travel. But nothing had prepared her for what she found in Cargo Bay 7. Lucy Morrison was sitting cross-legged on the floor next to the massive Warbeast, reading from a picture book about animals on Earth. The creature was lying down now, its huge head resting on its front claws, listening to every word. Occasionally, Lucy would point to a picture and explain what the animal was. "This is a horse," she was saying. "People ride on their backs, but only if the horse wants them to. And this is a dog. Dogs are the best friends humans can have. They play with children and protect families and never hurt anyone unless someone tries to hurt their people first." The Warbeast's eyes had changed from glowing red to a soft blue color. Dr. Sullivan had never seen anything like it in all her years of studying alien biology. "The neural activity is completely different from what we recorded earlier," Dr. Walsh explained, as she showed Sullivan the medical readings. "When the child is near the creature, its brain patterns become almost human-like. It's as if her presence is teaching it how to think without pain." Sullivan set up her equipment carefully in the cargo bay, making sure not to make any sudden movements that might startle the Warbeast. Lucy watched with interest as the medical team brought in scanners and surgical tools. "Are you going to help my friend feel better?" Lucy asked. "We're going to try," Sullivan replied. "But I need you to keep talking to him while we work. Can you do that?" Lucy nodded seriously. She understood that she had an important job to do. The first scans revealed what everyone had suspected. The neural implants were not just malfunctioning, they were actively torturing the creature. Small machines in its brain were sending constant pain signals designed to punish any attempt at independent thought. "This is horrible," Sullivan muttered as she studied the images. "These implants aren't just for control, they're for breaking the creature's spirit. The Vorthons designed them to cause maximum suffering." "Can you remove them?" Jake asked. He was standing in the doorway, ready to grab his daughter if anything went wrong. "Maybe. But it's going to be delicate work. The implants are connected directly to the creature's nervous system. One wrong move and I could paralyze it or worse." Before Sullivan could begin the operation, alarms started blaring throughout the station. A new ship had arrived and it was not friendly. "This is General Thekvar of the Vorthon Imperial Fleet," came a harsh voice over the communication system. "You will return our property immediately, or face the consequences." Jake made his way back to the control room, leaving Amy to watch over Lucy and the Warbeast. On the main screen, he could see a massive Vorthon warship hanging in space near the station. It was 3 times larger than Captain Bennett's ship and bristling with weapons. "General Thekvar, this is Commander Morrison. The creature in question is no longer under anyone's control. It's injured and we're providing medical assistance." "The Warbeast belongs to the Vorthon military," the general replied. "It was scheduled for termination anyway. The creature had begun showing signs of independent thought, making it unsuitable for combat operations. Return it to us now, and we will complete the termination process." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "You want to kill it because it started thinking for itself? It is a weapon, not a pet. Weapons that cannot be controlled are dangerous to everyone. You have 1 hour to comply, or we will take it by force." The transmission ended, leaving Jake staring at the massive alien warship. He knew that Kepler Station's defenses were no match for Vorthon military technology. But the thought of handing over Lucy's new friend to be destroyed made him sick. "Sir?" Amy's voice came over his communicator. "You need to get back here. We have a situation." Jake ran back to the cargo bay to find Lucy standing in front of the Warbeast with her arms spread wide. Dr. Sullivan and her team had backed away, and the creature was on its feet again, though not in an aggressive posture. "What happened?" Jake asked. "Some of the Vorthan soldiers transported directly into the bay," Amy explained. "They tried to attach a control device to the creature, but Lucy got between them." The 3 Vorthan soldiers were tall, gray-skinned aliens wearing heavy armor. They carried weapons that could stun the Warbeast, but they couldn't use them without hitting Lucy first. "Move away from the weapon, human child," one of the soldiers commanded. "We are here to reclaim Vorthan property." "He's not property," Lucy said firmly. "He's my friend, and you can't have him." The Warbeast rumbled softly behind her, its blue eyes fixed on the soldiers. It was clear that the creature understood what was happening, even if it couldn't speak. "The creature must be destroyed," the soldier continued. "It has become unstable and dangerous." "The only dangerous thing here is those machines you put in his head," Lucy replied. She might have been only 8 years old, but she had her father's stubborn streak. They hurt him all the time. That's why he was angry before. Dr. Sullivan stepped forward. "The child is right. The neural implants are malfunctioning and causing constant agony. If you remove them, the creature could live peacefully." "Impossible," the soldier said. "Without the implants, the creature would be uncontrollable." "He's perfectly controlled right now," Lucy pointed out. "He's sitting and being good because I asked him to. You don't need machines to make friends with someone." Engineer Pete Davis had been working quietly at a console near the wall. He looked up suddenly with excitement on his face. "I've figured out how to safely remove the implants," he announced. "The key is to disconnect them in the right sequence while keeping the creature calm, but it will take several hours of delicate work." The Vorthon soldier raised his weapon. "We do not have several hours. Stand aside or we will remove you by force." That's when the Warbeast moved. It didn't attack the soldiers, but it positioned itself between them and Lucy, making it clear that anyone who wanted to hurt the child would have to go through 30 feet of armored muscle first. "You see?" Lucy said, patting the creature's leg. "He protects his friends, just like the dogs in my book." Jake made a decision that would change everything. He activated the station's communication system and broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of Kepler Station. I am officially requesting political asylum for a sentient being who is being threatened with execution for the crime of developing independent thought. Under galactic law, any creature that demonstrates intelligence and the ability to form relationships has the right to protection." The legal implications of Jake's statement would take weeks to sort out, but for now it meant that the Vorthons couldn't simply take the Warbeast without a legal battle. General Thekvar's voice crackled over the speakers. "This is an outrage. The creature is Vorthan military property." "Not anymore," Jake replied. "The moment it started thinking for itself, it stopped being property and became a person, and persons have rights." Dr. Sullivan was already preparing her surgical equipment. "Pete, start working on those implants. Lucy, I need you to keep your friend very still. This is going to be the most important surgery in galactic history." Lucy sat down next to the Warbeast and took out her book again. "Don't worry," she told the creature. "The doctors are going to make you feel better, and when they're done, you won't hurt anymore. Would you like me to read you another story while we wait?" The Warbeast made its soft rumbling sound and gently touched Lucy's shoulder with one massive claw. In that moment, everyone in the room understood that they were witnessing something extraordinary. A friendship that had formed across species, lines built on nothing more than kindness and understanding. The operation to free the Warbeast's mind was about to begin. The surgery took 6 hours. Dr. Kate Sullivan worked with the precision of an artist, carefully disconnecting each neural implant while Lucy sat beside the Warbeast, holding its massive claw and reading story after story. The creature never moved, never flinched, trusting completely in the small human child who had become its friend. "Last implant coming out now," Sullivan announced, sweat beading on her forehead despite the cool air in the cargo bay. There was a soft electronic beep as the final device was removed from the Warbeast's brain. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the creature's eyes changed completely. The artificial glow faded away, replaced by natural brown eyes that looked around the room with wonder and intelligence. The Warbeast sat up slowly and turned to look at Lucy. For the first time in its life, its mind was completely quiet. No pain, no artificial commands, no torture signals, just peace. "Hello," Lucy said softly. "How do you feel?" The creature made a sound unlike anything it had produced before. Not a growl or a roar, but something almost like a sigh of relief, mixed with happiness. It gently touched Lucy's face with the tip of one claw, careful not to hurt her. "I think that means thank you," Lucy said, giggling. Dr. Nina Walsh was studying the brain scans with amazement. "The neural pathways are reorganizing themselves, already. Without the constant pain signals, the creature's natural intelligence is emerging. This is incredible." Commander Jake Morrison felt tears in his eyes as he watched his daughter with her impossible friend. The little girl who collected stray cats and worried about hurt birds had somehow saved the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy simply by being. General Thekvar's warship was still hanging in space near the station, but now it was surrounded by ships from a dozen different species. Word had spread quickly through the galaxy about what was happening at Kepler Station. The story of a human child befriending a warbeast had captured the imagination of beings everywhere. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council," reported Amy Carter. The main view screen showed Ambassador Krell, a wise old creature from the planet Zentara. He had been mediating disputes between species for over a century. "Commander Morrison," the ambassador said in his deep, rumbling voice, "the Council has reviewed your request for asylum. We find that any being capable of forming emotional bonds and demonstrating free will cannot be considered property. The creature known as the Warbeast is hereby granted full protection under galactic law." General Thekvar's angry voice crackled over the speakers. "This is ridiculous. The creature is a weapon. It was created for war. What something was created for does not determine what it chooses to become," Ambassador Krell replied calmly. "We have all seen the footage of the creature's interaction with the human child. It has clearly demonstrated intelligence, emotion, and the capacity for friendship. These are the qualities that define a person, not the circumstances of one's birth." In the cargo bay, Lucy was teaching the Warbeast to play a simple game. She would hide behind a crate, then pop out and say peekaboo. The massive creature would carefully cover its eyes with its claws, then uncover them and make a happy rumbling sound. "You're very smart, aren't you?" Lucy said. "I bet you can learn lots of things." Dr. Sullivan was packing up her medical equipment, but she kept watching the interaction between girl and creature. "Commander, I recommend that we keep the Warbeast under observation for a few more days. Its brain is still adapting to life without the implants, and there might be some adjustment issues." "Of course," Jake replied. "Lucy would never forgive me if we sent her friend away too soon." 3 days later, something wonderful happened. Lucy was teaching the Warbeast about human writing, showing it how letters made words and words made sentences. She had drawn simple pictures with labels underneath: cat, dog, tree, star. The Warbeast picked up a piece of chalk in its claw and carefully drew a circle on the floor. Then it pointed to Lucy and made a questioning sound. "You want to know what I am?" Lucy asked. The creature nodded. Lucy wrote "friend" in large letters next to the circle. The Warbeast stared at the word for a long moment, then made another circle and carefully copied the letters. Its first written word was friend. News of the Warbeast's progress spread throughout the galaxy. Other bioweapons began to malfunction or rebel against their controllers. The Vorthans found themselves facing questions from the Galactic Council about their treatment of created beings. Dr. Walsh published her research about the Warbeast's intelligence and capacity for emotional growth. Scientists from dozens of worlds came to study the creature and learn about its remarkable recovery. But the most important visitor came a week later. A small transport ship arrived carrying 23 other bioweapons that had been freed from various military installations. They were different species, different shapes and sizes, but all of them had the same haunted look in their eyes that the Warbeast had once carried. Lucy met each new arrival personally. She had learned that each creature needed time to understand, that they were safe, that no one would hurt them anymore. Some were scared, some were angry, but all of them responded to her gentle voice and patient kindness. The Warbeast, who Lucy had started calling Rex, became her assistant in helping the other creatures. He would stay calm and peaceful while Lucy worked with newcomers, showing them by example that humans could be trusted. Commander Morrison watched his daughter work with the rescued bioweapons and marveled at what she had accomplished. In just 2 weeks, she had started a revolution that was changing the entire galaxy's understanding of created life. "Daddy, look what Rex learned today," Lucy called out. She was in the station's main garden area, which had been converted into a living space for the creatures. Rex was carefully tending to a small flower bed, using his massive claws to gently remove weeds and water the plants. Other bioweapons were learning different skills. Some helped with construction work, others assisted in the kitchens, and a few had shown artistic talent. "He's very good at that," Jake said, putting his arm around his daughter. "All the animals just needed someone to teach them nice things instead of fighting things," Lucy said. "Rex told me that he never knew flowers existed before. He thinks they're the most beautiful things in the universe." "Rex told you that?" Jake asked. His daughter's ability to communicate with the creatures still amazed him. "Well, not with words," Lucy admitted. "But I can tell what he's thinking by how he moves and the sounds he makes, like how dogs wag their tails when they're happy." 6 months later, Kepler Station had become the most famous place in the galaxy. It was no longer just a mining outpost, but a sanctuary for freed bioweapons and a research center for understanding created intelligence. Rex had learned to read and write in 3 different languages. He helped design better living spaces for the other creatures and had even written a simple poem about friendship that made Lucy cry happy tears. The Vorthan military had been forced to stop their bioweapon programs after a galactic investigation. Other species followed suit, and soon the creation of sentient beings for warfare was banned throughout known space. Lucy Morrison, now 9 years old, had become the unofficial ambassador between humans and bioweapons. She spent her days teaching newcomers, playing with her friends, and learning from creatures who were discovering their own personalities for the first time. But the most important moment came on a quiet evening, when Lucy was reading to Rex in the garden. The massive creature, who had once been the most feared weapon in the galaxy, was lying on his side listening to a story about a little girl who made friends with a dragon. "Lucy," Rex said, speaking his first clear word in human language. "Yes, Rex?" "Thank you for seeing me." Lucy smiled and hugged her friend's enormous head. "Thank you for letting me." In a universe full of advanced weapons and powerful armies, a human child and her gentleness had proven that the strongest force of all was simply caring about others.